Yo, what's good, everyone? This is Shields. Welcome back. We are going to react to today the hidden Amazon city of 2 million. Very interesting, given that, okay, so there's a lot of question marks. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is 100% I looked at the video, I saw the thumbnail, and it interested me, and we clicked it. So there's really no prior contextualization for myself. Other than the Amazon, I imagine already, on this little 0.00 snippet we have right here, that we're going to be talking about is it a province or a state? I think it's a state. In the Amazonia state of Brazil, there's either two ways this is going to go. One, there's actively a hidden city, which is going to be mind-boggling because I wouldn't have thought about that. Or two, this is really about the ancient city, where there's geoliths and there's lidar that has detected remains and or placeholders where this civilization may have been. Either or is going to be an interesting watch. If you like these types of videos, I implore you to hit the subscribe button. But let's jump into it right away.
Rainforest, the biggest forest in the Amazon rainforest, the biggest forest in the world, home to the most diverse selection of animals.
Those dolphins are so crazy cool. The river dolphins, like, I'm gonna back it up. I'm just gonna pause on it.
The biggest forest in the world, home to the most diverse selection.
Those river dolphins are, I still can't imagine. Is there river dolphins anywhere else than the the Amazon?
Section of animals and plants that, for the most part, aren't found anywhere else. It's bustling with life, just not human life. At least that is what we thought, because in the heart of this massive rainforest lies Manaus.
Manaus. Okay. If this is some sort of imagery, I assume these are roads that are white, and is the white spot at the river the city?
A city of 2 million people, isolated from the rest of Brazil with no roads connecting it to other cities. It's a metropolis with possibly the weirdest.
Okay, this is news to Brandon. White. The ignorance of me. I only thought there were tribes, not uncontacted tribes, but tribes and peoples living in the Amazon. Did not know there was a 2 million person metropolis. That's crazy.
This occasion. When I found Manaus on the map, I spent weeks digging into the fascinating history of this amazing city and why it defies all odds. Because it turns out that Manaus is not just a city, it's a major manufacturing hub, home to factories for global brands like Samsung and LG. But why would they operate here, in a place so isolated and only accessible by boat or plane? Well, that's exactly what I wanted to find out, and the answer lies in its beginnings.
And this is going to be really interesting because when did the beginnings happen and what peoples migrated here? And then when they migrated here, who did they interact with? Was it a colonial power, or did they just literally just spark up a metropolis?
See, Manaus began as a small military outpost established by the Portuguese in.
Okay, so this was a colonial river-dwelling city.
1669, located at the junction of the Rio Negro and the Solimões River. It was originally called Fort São José de Rio Negro. The Portuguese built this fort to protect their interests in the Amazon basin, as this was an area rich in natural resources. They wanted to protect it from potential threats posed by rival European powers like the Dutch and Spanish. The fort also served as a strategic defense against attacks from indigenous tribes who resisted European colonization. Over time, the settlement around the fort grew into a small town, serving as a key trade.
How old is this picture? Because that building right there is just like the ones in Europe. That is Europe. You can tell that's European architecture.
trading post in the vast remote Amazon region. The location of Manaus was carefully chosen for both military and economic reasons. Being situated at the junction of two major rivers provided natural defense and control over river trade routes. The Amazon River, one of the longest and most powerful in the world, made it possible for goods and people to move through the otherwise inaccessible rainforest.
Sure.
This natural connectivity allowed Manaus to thrive as a trading hub, linking the Amazon region with the coastal cities of Brazil and Europe. The city of Manaus is, however, very isolated because of this. There are no direct roads to or from the city, and if you want to reach—
That is crazy. So like if you live there, the only way that you're leaving is on a boat or a plane. It's unheard of. It's literally unheard of in modern day.
Manaus, your options are limited to either a boat or a plane. The Amazon River essentially acts as the main highway and also the main protector, connecting Manaus to surrounding regions and making the river critical not only for transportation but also for trade and daily life. Well, if you for some reason only for transportation but also for trade and daily life.
Is that a river hotel? That's insane. I don't know what that is, but that looks like it's like literally a floating building, which is cool, but also scary.
Well, if you for some reason absolutely had to drive here, you could technically drive all the way up to the Venezuelan border, then go through Colombia and Peru before finally making your way to the core of Brazil. But this begs the question.
You have to go all that way? You can't, there's no right way? Like there's no way to the right, the east? Why don't they build a road?
Why don't they just build a bridge across the Amazon River? It's not 1669 anymore, and building a bridge should be pretty simple. I mean, building a bridge across the Amazon River is kind of like the most straightforward solution. At least it seems, but it's anything but simple. See, it might not be a good idea at all, because most of the region's goods and people move by river.
So make a drawbridge. Make a tower. You know the Tower Bridge in London? We need a tower bridge in Brazil.
So building a bridge wouldn't bring significant additional benefits, especially considering that Manaus is extremely isolated from major road networks, meaning a bridge would simply connect them to more rainforest and not more civilization.
Yeah.
Even if a bridge connected the city to nearby areas, it would still be a long, expensive drive through sparsely populated regions to reach Brazil's largest cities. The cost of such a project would be enormous, and the return on investment is low, given the city's heavy reliance on river and air transport. But anyway, because of this isolation, the city remained a small town that flew under the radar for many years. But then, in the late 1800s, something major happened. The global rubber boom. The Amazon was home to the Hevea brasiliensis, or the rubber tree, which was a highly valuable resource at the time, and kind of still is. Rubber, essential for industrial goods such as tires and machinery, was in high demand, especially in rapidly industrializing countries. Manaus' location in the heart of the rubber-producing region turned it into an industrial city almost overnight.
I mean, that makes perfect sense, right? I mean, it times right with the second industrial revolution. There's two of them, by the way. The second industrial revolution, and you know, you're going to start to produce in like a decade from then, you're going to be starting to see more automobiles being mass produced in UK as well as the Americas, and abroad. So yeah, perfectly lines up, timely.
The city's population and wealth surged as robber barons.
It was the capital of the Amazonas. Which is probably the state. See, we're all learning here.
Traders and workers flocked to the city to capitalize on the lucrative trade. The population of Manaus grew from just 30,000 people in the 1870s to around 180,000 people by 1920.
And by the way, we did the same. I know I'm pausing a bunch, but we did the same thing when we were talking about the Dutch, the Flevoland. If there's anyone in Manaus or in the state Amazonia, please comment. Please let me know. It's just so cool to connect with you guys.
That's an absolutely insane amount of growth. And after the rubber boom burst in the early 1900s, Manaus faced economic hardship, as would be expected, and its population growth slowed significantly. The city went through a period of decline as rubber production moved to Southeast Asia, where rubber trees had been smuggled and grown more cheaply. Manaus lost most of its wealth and prominence, and its grand theaters, mansions, and ornate buildings started to fade. However, in the 1950s and 60s, the Brazilian government began looking for ways to revitalize Manaus and other isolated parts of the Amazon. In 1957, they created the Manaus Free Trade Zone, designed to attract new industries with tax incentives and exemptions. This policy change brought a wave of companies to Manaus, particularly electronics and manufacturing firms, aiming to take advantage of these financial benefits. Therefore, throughout the 1970s and 80s, Manaus transformed from a quiet, economically struggling town into a bustling industrial hub. Factories sprang up, creating thousands of jobs, and the city's population surged again as people from across Brazil moved there for work opportunities. By the late 1980s, Manaus had over 1 million residents and was becoming one of Brazil's leading manufacturing centers, especially for electronics, motorcycles, and more recently, automotive and chemical industries. More recently, tourism has also been a growing part of Manaus' economy, with attractions like zoos, gardens, and a natural jungle park drawing visitors interested in the Amazon's biodiversity.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're gonna go to the Amazon, I gotta put this at the top of my list, right? If you're gonna go to the Amazon, because it has pretty much everything you could ask for.
But one of the city's most striking natural phenomena is the meeting of waters, where the Amazon River and the Rio Negro converge without mixing for almost 4 miles. The Amazon's sandy brown water and the Rio Negro's dark, almost black water create a sharp line due to differences in temperature, speed, and density.
I was about to say density is definitely the #1 reason here.
Nowadays though, Manaus has a population of around 2 million people and remains an economic powerhouse due to the free zone trade. Thanks to these incentives, companies like Samsung, LG, Microsoft, and more have set up factories here, producing
I'm surprised Amazon hasn't.
electronics, vehicles, and more for both domestic and international markets. This development has turned Manaus into a surprising manufacturing center, balancing economic growth with its remote location in the Amazon rainforest. But the city does have its challenges. You see, Manaus faces several significant challenges that prevent it
Poor governance, inadequate housing, and pollution. As every bustling metropolis goes through these these pieces. We just did a video in Singapore, and it tackled all 3 of these things at once with more green spaces, which you would think, with where it's sitting with in the Amazon, that this would be probably uno, like it would be #1, the priority list on pollution and environmental concern. The inadequate housing is a troublesome thing that requires a lot of money, and money requires taxation. So that's probably, and when you're offering so many incentives to these companies, you might miss out on some taxes to provide that. Poor governance. I don't know how the state by state governance or the city by city governance works in Brazil, but federally, maybe they should help out a little bit more with the eastern metropolises providing some taxation benefits. Who knows? Not me. Let's keep watching.
from reaching its full potential. Despite its rich culture and economic importance, the city struggles with poor management from local government, which makes it difficult for residents to get the services they need. One major issue is inadequate housing. As more people flock to the city for job opportunities, the demand for affordable homes has skyrocketed. Many lower-income residents end up in informal settlements, often extending into the fringes of the Amazon forest or into the water. Many areas of Manaus are built on stilts or connected by floating structures, adapting to the river's dramatic.
And we see the same type of buildings in Nigeria. And I know there's some also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's also the similar, we see similarities here in Indonesia.
Seasonal rises and falls. During the wet season, water levels can surge by several meters.
And yeah, you can't forget how much it rains in the Amazon, in the rising rivers. There's so many challenges here.
causing some streets to appear as if they are floating on the river itself. These communities frequently lack basic necessities like clean water, sanitation, and reliable electricity, and creates a divide between the wealthy and the less fortunate. Pollution is another pressing concern in Manaus. Industrial activities and poor waste management contribute to contaminated air and water. The city's factories and vehicles release harmful emissions, which have led to a decline in air.
Not just that, it's just more, it's not the vehicles that cause most of the emissions here. It's definitely it's the pollution by the industrial pollution, and then putting it into the water supply, and then improper improper garbage disposal. I think that's the main issue here. Car emissions are not going to be the main concern here.
Air quality. Many residents are at risk of health problems, particularly respiratory issues due to this pollution. The impact of pollution on air quality is particularly troubling. The combination of emissions from industries, cars, and deforestation results in some of the dirtiest air in Brazil. This affects the health of the city's inhabitants, especially vulnerable groups like children and the elderly, who are more likely to suffer from the negative effects of poor air quality. Studies indicate that Manaus suffers from some of the worst air quality in Brazil, with pollution levels linked to respiratory illnesses affecting around 15% of the population. Which is crazy to think about, right? Because this is a city in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, a place that produces so much oxygen just from the trees. It's crazy to think that such a small city, in comparison to the Amazon, can make...
But it acts like an echo chamber, though. I would say that would be the argument there. It acts like an echo chamber, that small area.
Such a big impact. But anyway, despite all the challenges, Manaus is a growing, thriving metropolis, and it will continue to be so in the future.
Wow. What did we learn today? Manaus. We learned about Manaus, a 2 million person metropolis bustling on a intersection of two rivers. Well, I didn't know about. Look. I'm not gonna say that I know everything at any point in my life, and I did not know this. I did not know about the Amazon having this particular city within their state. Wow. And if you live there, you're probably like, how do you not know that? But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't know this, and it's a very interesting. We see this all over Latin America. It's just an interesting contrast between the metropolis and the favelas, or the metropolis and the lesser kept areas when it comes to basic needs, necessities, whether it be water, structural integrity, affordable housing, and then particularly things that the city could provide, like garbage, waste disposal, clean water and sewage, not clean sewage, but water and sewage infrastructure. So very interesting. We'll have to keep tabs on this particular metropolis. But thank you guys so much for watching up to this point. If you made it to this point, hit that subscribe button, and let's watch some more videos in the future. Recommend some content that I can react to below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye.